Welcome to DSG Life, How to Unleash the Power of 40,000 Teammates. I could not be more excited to welcome this next power duo to the stage. Paloma DeNardis is Director of Executive Search and Head of Diversity and Inclusion for Dick's Sporting Goods. Paloma heads up DSG's company-wide diversity and inclusion strategy and is passionate about building a culture of strong understanding, respect, and empowerment across the organization. JP Elliott is an IO psychologist and business-first HR leader with a PhD in organizational psychology. He's an author, HR thought leader, and co-founded a brand strategy and design firm partnering with clients such as Warner Brothers, Fox, and Lego. JP has led talent functions for Lenovo, Brinks, and is now VP of talent at Dick's Sporting Goods. We are so lucky to get to learn from these two on the winning teams and initiatives that they're building at Dick's Sporting Goods. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Paloma and JP to the stage.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate you guys joining us today. And I know it's after lunch, but I appreciate you guys coming here. Lots of great competition. And I think it's going to be a really good session. We hope you get some really great stuff out of this. We're really here, and I'm kind of excited and humbled to talk to you today because what we're going to talk about, frankly, is not really about Paloma and myself, or even our HR team. It's really about the 40,000 teammates at Dick's Sporting Goods that really embraced our employment brand, embraced what it means to work at Dick's, and wanted to share that story online. So what we're going to try to set up today, and what I'm going to do is really set the cultural journey up a little bit, and then I'm going to hand over to Paloma, who frankly is the architect behind this and the one that deserves all the credit because she pushed through a lot of the organizational barriers to bring this to life. So I'm really excited about that piece. I do want to kind of start, though, and ask a couple questions. One, how many, just raise your hand if you actually have employment branding in your job title. Okay. Or you're working on that. Some of you have. Okay. All right. How many of you believe we can get more out of your teammates to be brand ambassadors, right? All right, that's good. That's perfect. All right, so that's almost like saying who got a job by knowing somebody. And last question, how many of you are friends or family or I paid for you to be in the audience today? Because I'm seeing quite a few of you, so thank you. And checks in the mail to a few of you guys for coming up. All right, so next question, how many of you guys know about Dick's Sporting Goods? How many of you shop there regularly or at least once in a while? Oh, I love that, that's great. We are $8.5 billion in revenue. 40,000 teammates, about 800 stores. We also own Golf Galaxy and Field & Stream. So it's a big brand, but what you probably don't know is that it was actually started in 1948 by Dick Stack, hence Dick Sports. And Ed Stack, his son, really in about early 80s, they had 2 stores. And Ed Stack, who's our current CEO, took those 2 stores to over 800 stores today and really built the foundation of where we are. So it's a founder-led company. His influence is still readily around, but we're publicly traded, so it makes it unique. But I think it also is one reason why the teammates and working at Dick's Sporting Goods, we were able to kind of get this groundswell of passion because we do care about our teammates, and that really does come through. So it's really interesting to see that play out. We also, Dick's Sporting Goods was really started with the belief that sports matter, right? And I think, how many of you played sports growing up? Right, almost all of us did, right? And I think that is a core foundation of what we do. We have a Sports Matter Foundation where we gave and committed over $50 million to youth sports. Youth sports are actually underfunded now, and that's happening across the US, and so we're trying to pick that up because we think, as we all know, especially being talent folks, those instrumental experiences, whether you're playing a baseball, football, soccer, softball, those experiences really stay with you, right? They teach you how to be a part of a team, push through, and persevere, so we want to make sure that's happening. So what I thought, even though you guys are all very familiar, and please keep shopping at Dick's Sporting Goods, I want to show you a little video that I think gives you an insight into our culture and how we operate.
In New York during the 1950s, times were tough. The country was trying to get its act together after World War II, and money was scarce. Kids lacked resources to be productive. There were only 2 Little League teams in the county, and you can imagine how old that got, playing the same team game after game. Dick Stack immersed himself in his community, rallying local businessmen to create a league with 16 teams. He understood the value of sport and how important it was for kids that age to be active. This is what drove him. He devoted countless hours to give those kids a chance to play. He didn't do it for his business. Actually, he told the parents specifically not to buy their baseball gear at his store. Putting the athletes' needs first sat at the core of our business for the past 70 years. Now, it's our turn. We need to evolve what's been started by putting our focus solely at the need of our customers, the athletes we serve.
I'm feeling a change coming. I'm feeling a change coming.
Our vision is to be the best sports company in the world.
Shout around me. No doubt I'm feeling a change. I'm feeling a change running down.
Coming into Dick's Sporting Goods is an experience because they're coming in to do something fun. They're coming in to be active, to enjoy their passion, and they need our help to do it. We're the experts. The stores have an opportunity to really engage our communities. They are coming to us for support, for parents to be able to get the right equipment for their kids. They are looking for our support for knowledge. We have to have experts in the building and team members who are passionate about what they do and share it and teach and be excited about it and share what we have with these little ones that are getting ready to start something that could change their lives. And it's exciting to be able to do that, and we're proud to be able to do that.
I'm sure it's happening now. It's happening now. Yeah, it found me. It's been a long time coming, a long time coming. It's been a long time coming, a long time coming. There's change 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 coming.
Pretty cool video, right? Definitely a lot of fun. I love that song, by the way. And I think what we're trying to show you there is I'm going to talk about the cultural journey we've been on, right? Retail is changing very quick. And why is that? Because consumer expectations are changing, right? The stores are really important for us, but obviously we also have to think about meeting our customers. We call them athletes. We call our employees teammates, right? How do we meet athletes wherever you want to shop, whether that's on an app, mobile, you want to pick it up in store, et cetera. That's great. But what else is trying to change? You know, how do we make sure that we really are thinking about you want to come in the store, and when you're in the store, it's a great experience. So we've been embarking on a cultural journey and a couple things, and what I want to do now is kind of walk you through that because it lays the groundwork of why I think this has been so successful in terms of how building a social strategy. But the key piece, and I think it does get lost sometimes, and if you're focused on employment brand, I think you might be in a more unique situation than our typical talent acquisition manager, recruiter, because a lot of times when we're doing a search, it's for one role. It can have a big impact, obviously, but it's sometimes tied to the business strategy, but it's one piece of it. When you think about employment brand, I think the opportunity is to think about what's that bigger, larger business strategy that the executives are thinking about, that Wall Street cares about, frankly. That's really the future of the company, and how do you tie that back to the employment brand you're building each and every day? And that's what we sort of did here. We kind of jumped on a wave of the cultural change and the business piece. So as we said, the stores are really important for us, right? Our e-commerce business is growing really well, but if we don't get the stores working, we're not going to be profitable and growing. And so that means we had to invest in our teammates. And we had to kind of basically say, how do we really make that experience even better? And we're on that journey, okay? So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of that. So key milestones. So in March of 2018, the leadership team came out with our Dick's 2.0 strategy. Most companies have a strategy. That's great. If you don't know what the strategy is, you should find out because it's really important. But I know all these folks in the room are thinking about that from your TA perspective, right? What roles do we want to bring, et cetera. This strategy for us, the top of that pyramid is the power of our opinion. And that goes back to the heart of what happens in our stores and our teammates having that opinion and be able to share that. And so we kind of saw that. So that's really great because Paloma and I joined Dick's Sporting Goods about a year and a half ago. And we came in and we said, let's take our employment brand up a little bit. We love our employment brand. And we were really thinking a little bit about it, kind of like, oh, just typical employment branding people, marketing. What are we going to do to promote Dick's Sporting Goods? And we started to flip the switch a little bit, and we said, it's not really what we say it is, it's what our teammates say it is, right? How do we make them the ones? Because it's just like a brand. It's really what our teammates are saying on Glassdoor. It's what they're telling us in our engagement surveys. That's what really matters the most, right? So that kind of, the power of opinion really kind of flows through everything we talk about here. Then we launched a recognition program. As we really responding to engagement feedback, we said we don't have a recognition culture that we want to have. We have a really high performance-driven culture. We're always looking at yesterday's numbers and trying to beat it, but we didn't always celebrate the wins. And we rolled out High Five Awards, which is a $10 gift card to Dick's Sporting Goods. And you can do that for really any reason. When you want to say it's for a teammate or helping an athlete, et cetera. Service awards that went out there, of course, tied to the brand, and you get different sporting balls, which is pretty fun. They go from tiny little golf ball that I got here 1 year all the way up to the big giant basketball. And finally, actually 25 years of the cookie jar. I forgot to say that Dick Stack started Dick's Sporting Goods with $300 from the cookie jar from his grandmother in 1948. So that was a big award for us. And then the President's Award winners were really about how we drive more in that stores. So the recognition piece really fueled a lot of this. And I think Paloma will talk more about, and you'll see this in the video we're going to show you in a minute. And then we came out with a common purpose. And our leadership team really went back and said, we've got to think about bigger around what Dick's Sporting Goods could be. So they went to the mountaintop. They had one of those 2-day offsites that, what's going to come out of it. And for us, was the common purpose. And this has really shifted everything. And this is what we have tied into around our employment branding strategy, but more importantly, how we engage our teammates to drive this culture change. And so what is the common purpose? What's inside there? One was a vision of the future. And our vision is to be the best sports company in the world, which at first blush is pretty ambitious, right? Most people think of a sporting goods retailer, but when you start to think of being a sports company, that means we can go different businesses right in the future. So I think it's a great way to kind of open up and think about how we could potentially do more and continue to support athletes or be known for sports. The mission, you saw it in the video a little bit, but it's tied to our teammates. That was number one, right? Communities. Number two, athletes, of course, our communities and community involvement, and then shareholders. And then the common purpose, which is our reason for being, which is really about creating confidence and excitement and equipping athletes so they can personally fulfill their dreams, which sounds really lofty. And we operationalized that at a store manager leadership conference and rolled this out in October of last year. And we rolled out the common purpose, and people were pumped. They were excited. At the same time, we really came out with the hashtag DSG Life and the recognition program. And then the leadership got involved. And we had our president, Lauren Hobart, who was liking things on LinkedIn. And we said, this is really good. And Paloma's like, hey, JP, I found the social media policy. It was locked in a vault. I had to have an AOL email and a MySpace account to get it out. But we got it out. It was 6 pages long. No one's reading that policy. And it was super restrictive. When we found out people didn't want to do anything on social media, they thought they would get in trouble. And so Paloma talked about that, but she got that social media policy down to something people actually would read. And we launched the campaign really with this idea of recognition, changing the culture, and really what kind of came out of that was people just being excited and pumped to really talk about what it means to work at Dick's Sporting Goods. And then on April 28th of last year, we trained 40,000 teammates in one night. We shut down the stores an hour early. It was basically a pretty late night for everybody, but we trained everyone at the same time. And we kind of did a cascade from leadership, district managers to store managers. We brought in the leads all the way down from assistant store managers to leads for one day to kind of get ready for that training. We empowered the leads to run the training that night, and they really owned it. And so 40,000 teammates all went through the same training and learned about the common purpose and what our service standards were, and then obviously the hashtag DSG Life, right? And from there, things were just taking off, and so now we're just trying to fan the flames and think about how we take it to the next level. But don't take my word for it. This video will show you where we're at.
I truly believe in the power of our teammates, and I feel more strongly than ever that our people are our competitive advantage.
Oh, this is fantastic. I can't believe the work that these guys are doing.
Oh, this is a good one.
That's fantastic.
right, what do you guys think? Pretty cool? And before I hand it off to Paloma, who again, I mean, really was the architect for this whole thing, you know, what happened in our third quarter results, right? 3% positive same-store sales growth, the first time since 2016. So something's changed in the stores, and we're starting to see really good traction, so.
Thanks, JP.
Paloma.
All right, guys, thank you guys so much for coming. As JP said, we know there's a lot of competition for this time slot, and I'm so excited with this turnout. I'm also super excited that I got a shout out from the main stage.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm that Paloma, thank you, I'm famous. That's two girls doing makeup in the bathroom. You make friends, right? So I wanted to talk through some of the blocking and tackling of what we actually did to make this happen and give you guys some actionable advice to take home to your companies so you can figure out how you can do this and what's gonna make sense in your company culture. And I do have some swag. It wouldn't be a Dick's Sporting Goods presentation if I didn't have something to give away at the end. So for people who want to ask some questions, I have something for you. So first and foremost, I want to talk about riding the wave. So as JP had sort of teed up, we were going through a cultural transformation. Our president, Lauren Hobart, came to the organization and came to HR specifically as the culture champions of the company and said, we need your help. We need to figure out a way to engage and empower our teammates. At the same time, we were trying to roll out an employment brand. Our employment brand really was anchored on you live and breathe sports, and so do we. You believe sports matter, and so do we. And as we were connecting these pieces around what we were hearing from executive leadership and what we were trying to do in the talent organization, it clicked for us. It clicked because our mission, our very first thing in our mission, as JP mentioned, is our teammates. It clicked when you saw Lauren Hobart in the video saying that our teammates are our competitive advantage. So that is, at its core, what employment brand is, right? Yes, it's talking about the experience that one has as being part of your company. But for us, the experience that we wanted to create inside of Dick's Sporting Goods is that you can make a difference inside of Dick's Sporting Goods. When you're talking to an athlete who's gonna play their very first soccer game or their very first baseball game, and you're equipping them with that, with those materials to be successful, you are creating confidence and excitement in that person. And that's an experience that we provide as an employer that other retailers might not. So it was our key differentiator, and we wanted to empower that. So for us, we rode the wave and connected our employment brand and what we were trying to drive with the business objectives. And if you take nothing away from this presentation, take that away. Find a connection to what's going on in your business and connect your employment brand and your social objectives to that. It'll help you get buy-in. It'll help your leadership to understand why it's gonna make a difference instead of it just being seen as, okay, well, yeah, it's gonna help us recruit people, but what about the bottom line? For us, what about comp sales, right? And we were able to kind of find an intersection there that really helped us drive things forward. So the next thing I want to talk about is hecklers, right? So who here has had a difficult time maybe with their legal partners or their marketing partners or their comms partners or their PR partners when you're trying to do something like this, right? Yes, yes, thank you. What I want you to know is exactly what this slide says. The best way to silence a heckler is to perform and to be relentless in how you want to pursue whatever your objective is. However, in true teammate fashion and sports fashion, we have to be collaborative and we have to bring the team along with us. So yes, we need to silence those individuals by being relentless in the pursuit of our objective, but at the same time, we needed to listen and understand why were they so concerned? What was the big deal? And many of them had some really thoughtful insights that did help us inform the next steps that we took, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute. So my biggest piece of advice here is listen. For us at Dick's Sporting Goods, what I had learned, because I was fairly new to the organization when I started working on this, was we had tried this and it didn't work. Probably a couple times, maybe 3 or 4 times, right? And that made everyone a little nervous and a little scared. And then when you're talking to your HR colleagues and then you're learning that people actually were terminated because they weren't behaving appropriately on social media, it made people really nervous that this was an employee relations nightmare, a PR nightmare, a communications nightmare, that we were going to actually have the opposite effect and really damage our brand. So I had to listen. I had to approach these individuals one-on-one, understand their thoughts, understand their point of view, and work to just get them to a neutral position. I didn't have to convert all of them to be my fan, but I did have to get them to a point where they were willing to have a dialogue with me about these initiatives so that we could try to move it forward together. So advice here, listen first, ask lots of questions, and utilize the information you're getting from those conversations to inform the next steps you have to take. So safe, right? For us, we had to make it safe, right? We have 40,000 teammates, everybody ranging from, Ed Stack, our CEO, to a 16-year-old first job, part-time teammate in our stores, right? We had to think about this broad spectrum of people that we employ. We had to think about all of their experiences. We had to also think about what was actually happening today, right? So what kind of information were they accessing? How were they using social media today? As JP had mentioned, our social media policy was 6 pages long, and it still actually referenced MySpace. And it wasn't relevant. And then as we did some focus groups and we talked to some of the teammates, we realized that it was really intimidating and it wasn't a safe space to play in. They thought / knew that if they didn't do the right thing and they said something that rubbed somebody the wrong way, that they could be terminated for that. And that was a really scary thought. So we had to remove some of those fears and make it safe for them. The other things that we had to do was to once again try to inform this process with the information that our legal teams, our HR teams, marketing and brand all had thoughtfully shared with us. And we took that 6-page policy and we landed on 4 bullet points. So really slimmed it down. So the 4 bullet points is what you see here. Respect others in the brand, add value, use your best judgment, and when in doubt, leave it out. So how we landed on these 4 bullet points was actually by partnering and looking at some of our own teammates' social media feeds. And what we found was most people were breaking the social media policy and not getting fired for it. Yay! What we found was that our teammates were some of the best advocates for our brand and the product that we sell. Our teammates were going onto social media and saying, I love these new Nikes, they're amazing. They're saying, I just bought this new driver, I'm so excited to take it out. They were talking about their personal experiences as athletes on social media, but they weren't necessarily always referencing Dick's Sporting Goods. They weren't using any kind of hashtag. But that is exactly the experience that we were looking to create inside of our stores, right? So when you come into a store and you're not sure what driver to buy, you go to the golf expert, and he or she helps you figure out what you should get for your game. And we saw that exact same experience happening on social media. So when we saw that, we knew that this was going to be a way, if we did it the right way, for our teammates to really talk about their employment experiences, their favorite products, their favorite sports, and really kind of tie that whole brand, consumer and employer, together for us. So the next piece, once we wrote the policy, and as just a plug for all my legal partners in the room, if there are any, we do actually have a real policy still. We did rewrite it. It's only about 2 pages now. It's a little bit more than just these 4 bullet points. But what we knew through some of those initial conversations was that teammates aren't going to read it. So it needed to be something you could put on a bumper sticker, and all 40,000 teammates would understand pretty quickly. But for legal purposes and employee relations purposes, we do still have a legal policy that sits on PolicyNet, and I'd bet 5 people have read it, and I'm probably one of them. So that was sort of our approach. The next piece, though, was communicating this to people. So you can't just change something in, behind closed doors in a silo and hope that the rest of the organization finds out about it. We really had to go out with a bang. So because we rode the wave and we tied it to the business purpose, Lauren Hobart was an amazing champion for us, went up on the main stage at our store manager leadership conference and gave us a little plug and said, hey guys, the social media policy changed, stay tuned. And next came the work, the rest of the work, which was literally me going into every single one of our town halls, being on our all stores call, which has about 2,000 people who dial into it on a quarterly basis, and talking about our social media policy, talking about our employment brand, talking about hashtag DSG Life and what we were expecting for people to do with it. Now, what I want you to know is that we weren't very prescriptive. We did give them these 4 bullet points. We gave them some examples as to what we thought these 4 bullet points meant, but we actually didn't tell them what social media platforms to go on to. And we told them, hey, here's hashtag DSG Life, use it. We hope you use it. We hope you follow us on these channels. But it wasn't a must-have, you must do. We really tried to meet all the teammates where they were. The next piece after the town halls was actually getting in front of the other executive leadership. So Lauren was an amazing champion for us. Holly, our CHRO, was a great champion. And Don Germano that you saw in the video, who's our EVP of stores, were all amazing champions. However, we had quite a few executives who were intimidated by social media. They weren't really quite sure where to start, and they had some very clear lines that they wanted to draw when it came to certain platforms. So the other piece of making it safe was about LinkedIn, quite honestly, and it was sort of great for my presentation that Jeff Weiner was talking about how LinkedIn is seen as a really safe platform, because it actually is exactly the Dick's Sporting Goods experience. People came forward and said, listen, Paloma, I'm not going to do Facebook. I'm not comfortable with Twitter. And so I asked them, what platform do you use? Where do you like to go and see what's happening? And they said LinkedIn. So I was like, great, let's start there. So we looked at their profiles, we did headshots, and I want you all to know that we did all of this with no additional budget. We did the headshots with a camera that JP helped to fund. We went out and bought a great camera, and we found one of the individuals in our learning and design team who's a photographer on the side and was willing to take on a little stretch project for us. And he found the time to take headshots. I literally sat down 30-minute meetings with executives and helped them rewrite their profiles and did sort of a rock your profile mini sessions. And we really kind of, once again, tried to meet our executive team where they were. Because if they weren't going to buy in and show their teammates and their employees how to interact on social media and that it was a safe space, no matter what I said and how dynamic I tried to be in front of a town hall, it was going to fall flat. So my advice to you is to be thoughtful and to get in front of your people, your teammates, your employees, your executive teams, and approach it. You are the subject matter experts. We are the people who are on LinkedIn every day. We know it better than anyone. So use that knowledge to your advantage, get in front of them and offer them something that others aren't. Offer them a personalized approach to their own profile. And come equipped with examples of what does great look like. Start at the top, and then you have your benchmark for the rest. What I want you to know here is that we're still chasing some people on their social media profiles, so it wasn't a perfect rollout, but it was pretty widely adopted, which leads into finding your fans. So with anything, any marketing campaign, any technology rollout, everyone knows there's going to be early adopters and late adopters, and then the rest of us who kind of fall in between. And after we rolled this out and we kind of got buy-in and we were working on those individual profiles, we sat on our hands and we waited to see what happened. And we saw Lauren start to like things and follow things and comment, and other executives were doing the same. And then we actually saw the teammates start to get out onto social media and onto LinkedIn and start using the hashtag. And then we started getting some followers. It was really exciting. But then how do we fan those flames? How do we pour gasoline on that fire? And how we did it was, once again, with a really personalized approach. I sat there and I used my emails and I messaged people and said, hey, I loved your post today. It was fantastic. Keep it up. Hey, can I use that on our editorial, our social editorial for other platforms? I let them know and gave them the confidence that what they were doing on social media mattered and that I wanted to use it. And why this was a little different and why I think this worked and was meaningful for our teammates was because we have 40,000 teammates, as the title of the session says, but 35,000 of those people are in our stores that I've never met. And when they were posting and then getting a message from someone at corporate that was giving them accolades and recognition for the work they were doing for a post that took them 30 seconds to make, I think it made them feel good. I don't have any scientific data to back that up, other than the fact that we started to see more of it, and more and more. And then we started to see really cool content that we could have never asked people to make. We started seeing rap videos, and we started seeing people making their own cheers and their morning huddle, all of the things you saw in that video. And from an employment brand perspective, this was a dream, but it was something that we would have never been able to do, because the other thing that I want you to know is that, as JP had mentioned and sort of teased out in the very beginning, my title does not include employment brand. I am the director of executive search and the head of diversity and inclusion. My colleagues, Rick and Maria, who are in the audience, their titles also do not include employment brand. Nobody at Dick's Sporting Goods is solely responsible for employment brand. We do not actually even have an employment brand team. It is a shared responsibility across our organization. And because of that, it was really intimidating when we set all this out, because there was no way, how are we going to go and grab and create authentic content that spoke to our brand and spoke to our employment experiences? And that's when this all kind of came together, when we saw this amazing content being listed and shared across our platforms. It's content that we would have never been able to create on our own. And honestly, I don't even know that we were, I don't know that I'm creative enough to have thought of some of the things that they put together. But it was them, it was their voice. It was something that they wanted to share. As I said before, we weren't prescriptive about what we asked people to share with us. So some of the things we see on social media are, what we would call a pad, which is a display, essentially. Someone might create a display that day and take a picture of it and post it on LinkedIn with our hashtag. And does that actually show much about our employment brand? No. But what it shows is that that teammate was so proud of the work that they just did, and that's what matters. And then people start interacting with it and saying, hey, great work, great job. And it helped to reinforce that whole cycle of recognition that, yes, we do have the High Five program, and it's been really powerful across our organization, and we do see a lot of high fives get posted as well. But the other piece of what was getting posted was just people's day-to-day work that they were proud of, and we were able to sort of reinforce that experience with them. And as you saw in the video, we're actually starting to see our customer satisfaction rating increase. And it kind of ties back to the whole common purpose in creating confidence and excitement. But at the end of the day, when we have happy employees and happy teammates who are interacting with you as the athletes who shop in our store, you're having a better experience too, which ties back to that business initiative and how it can actually make a difference. So lastly, for us, we had to get back to who we were, and we needed to tap into the pride and passion that has always existed at Dick's Sporting Goods. We needed to make it real and empower the 40,000 teammates in our organization to make a difference. We needed to tell them that their opinion mattered and that they were the reason why we are going to be successful and continue to change in this industry that is rapidly changing. And without them, they're the differentiator. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So we had to get back to our core and what we've always known. And we're really proud of the results that we saw. So some of the results, to reiterate what you saw in the video, we have seen overall customer satisfaction increase. Comp sales have also increased. Employee engagement has increased. We have 20% increase in our followers on LinkedIn. Actually, I think today we have close to 1,200 followers now of the hashtag DSG Life. And with that, I'd like everyone to take your phone out and find DSG Life on LinkedIn and follow it. Thanks in advance. But we keep seeing some really great and very exciting activity. And lastly is our overall content engagement across all social platforms, not just LinkedIn, is at about 5%, and it's been holding there pretty steadily, which I'm really proud of. And the reason I think it's there is because, yes, about half of our content that we create is more corporate feeling, but the other half is content that's user-generated. We go through the hashtag DSG Life, we pull out the stories that resonate with us, and we share it. And I think that reinforcing that message is helping us to come across as authentic and genuine, and ultimately will help us recruit and retain the best talent so that every athlete who comes in our stores has an amazing experience. So I have 7 minutes left. I'd like to have JP come back on stage. Who wants to get some free swag? Any questions, anybody?
Paloma, two-part question for yourself. With your organization opening the floodgates of social media and utilizing social media, are you allowing your employees to post or share when there's openings, either in corporate or at the local stores? And as a result of that, I don't know if you know offhand, but how much of your hires are a result as employee referrals?
So first part of the question, yes. So with the, if I go back to our actual policy. So respect others in the brand, add value, use your best judgment, and when in doubt, leave it out. So when we rolled this out, we told people, hey, the same rules apply, right? You can't talk about financials, you can't talk about, you know, how many boxes of Yeezys we have in the back because on Monday the Yeezys dropped, right? Like, it was sort of use your best judgment, right? Like, you know that you shouldn't be talking about this because it's not public information, so then don't. And what we realized was that for the, you know, by and large, people weren't doing that even when the old scary social media policy was there, right? So I hope that answers the first part of your question. The second part around employee referrals, we have seen an uptick in certain areas. I don't know that that's specifically because of social media. My partner, Rick Jordan, who's in the audience, has been rolling out some really thoughtful employee referral programs around technology and kind of giving people some incentives there. So I don't have any data that proves that, but I'm sure it helps.
I would just say I think what's just us being much more comfortable on social media and on LinkedIn. So now you're seeing hiring managers posting, hey, I got a great role on my team, which, you know, we all know that that's what drives a lot of adoption and people wanting to apply and get that network out. So that's been good. I think that's actually helped us. Can't quantify it, but I think it's helped.
My thoughts are at a regional store, it'd be likely people want to hire folks that they know or their friends or people who do a good job because they want to work with people they like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, yeah, I think that is happening because we have seen some of our biggest fans and early adopters are our store managers, and so I think they are sort of cultivating that connection to their own community. To your point, I want to work there because my friends work there and everyone is having a good time. So.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great question.
Would you like a backpack or a mug?
He wants the backpack. That's why I already came back out. All right, here, let me get this for you to ask some questions.
All right, next.
Hi there.
All right,
Joe,
thanks,
I'm
Marshall.
from Dallas with Pacific Dental Services. JP, you mentioned earlier something about, you referenced same-store growth that may be correlated to employee engagement with the app, with the Elevate app that you guys rolled out. And then my other can you reference that again real quick?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously a lot of things were happening at the same time, the business, but we did see an uptick in overall customer satisfaction, right? And that's really tied to that rollout. We saw a bump after that big rollout, and that ended up being about 3% sales increase for us, which is great.
And then outside of like the recognition, the fun stories, the fun pictures, the fun videos, like it's obviously a fun way to have people engage. I'm really pushing our organization to adopt it. But what other ways are you kind of curating content? Are you pushing out other information? Obviously, employee recognition is huge, but what other ways are you using this feed to kind of communicate with all your team members nationally? One of our biggest concerns as an organization is as we scale, you know, to 900 stores now, how do you get the culture to continue to transplant from store to store to store to store, you know? So.
Yeah, so I think, our monthly editorial includes a mix of user-generated content and more corporate-related content that we want to make sure that we're delivering a certain message, right? Some of it's, teammate features, some of it's new store openings. We have National Signing Day that's going to be launching in a couple days that we're talking about quite a bit on social media, which is our holiday hiring program.
Yeah.
We are trying to be thoughtful, about that. The other piece is this is a topic from a team spirit perspective. Every month we put something on the bulletin board in the store that tells people, gives them ideas on what they can talk about on social media, right? So back to school, holiday hiring, we make it relatable to them, but we make sure that there's something on that bulletin board every single month to remind them to keep posting. And that's one of the things that we've been doing to kind of fan those flames and make sure that new teammates that are getting hired know it's safe, it's a safe space to play in. We want you to continue to engage with us. And I think it's helping.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm wearing the hat of marketing and e-commerce here. So I was wondering if you actually link all these employee engagement, customer satisfactions to more sales on the online store. You have e-commerce. Was there a link at all? And actually, is this something that you can measure through KPIs or not?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I think it's so hard to do. I think we're still trying to figure out in our digital marketing, how we know, what piece drove the full traffic, right? Because obviously you may have multiple impressions, right? But I think overall, we focus more in the store. We're giving ourselves more credit for in the store. Online is doing well, but I think there's a lot of other activities happening on that side for us. So marketing hasn't really interacted with us a whole lot. We actually have something called Pro Tips where our teammates do talk about our products, and that's out like on YouTube and other places as well. And we've been talking about how do we meld those together, but we haven't got there yet. So thanks for a good question.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I don't need a mug. My husband will kill me if I come home with another mug. My question is, so anytime you have someone posting on their own social media, you've got the post that is hashtagged for your efforts, and then you've also got all the other posts that they might share. Right. Did you have any concerns about sort of death by association if maybe they post something very appropriate with the hashtag for dicks, but then they have another post that was meant for their personal audience that could be offensive or inflammatory in some way? And what did you do about that? Yeah, so
it's a great question, and it's something that when going back to that sort of the whole hecklers piece, it was something that was a serious and real concern for us as an organization. However, the way that we got past it was really kind of getting connected and back to our core, that we're a really community-based organization, and the Dick's Sporting Goods in your neighborhood is full of people from your own community, right? And they're representative of that community. And we weren't going to be able to police every single person, and we weren't going to be able to go through 40,000, profiles across all different social platforms to make sure that what you were posting was okay. But this kind of went back to needing to have a little bit of trust and empowerment of our teammates, because they're actually the ones giving the experience, creating the experience in the store for the athlete. And so if we're trusting them to do that, we have to permeate that trust through other pieces. The other piece in it was really about the empowerment piece, right? That we have to trust you to use your best judgment and know that if you don't, there could be repercussions, right? We do make the blanket statement that we reserve the right to ask you to remove any posts, but we really haven't had to enact that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe my shorter answer on that, back to more of an HR answer, is we already know where you work, because most people have it on their Facebook or LinkedIn profile already. And so when you say something that is really offensive or could actually, be seen as a harassment or affect the culture of the store, we're going to address that in an HR issue anyways. So I really haven't seen anything, and all we've seen is positive, and so I think it's been a blessing. But the one-offs HR takes care of, and you don't see much about it.
Thank you.
Great question.
Hi, I'm Katie, and my question kind of revolves around how do you gain buy-in from executive stakeholders? A little bit of background, we are a privately owned company on the second generation, a little bit of a old school mentality. We're getting ready to hand off to the third generation. So right now we're kind of in transition, and I kind of wonder like what's the best way to approach that.
So we can totally relate to that because we're very, although we're a publicly traded company, we're, as JP said before, we're founder-led. We can totally relate to that culture and what you're describing. My advice to you would be that third generation who's handing off, try to understand what their objectives are. What strategic objectives do they, as they're kind of taking on and they're going to build their own brand as that new leader, that more personal brand, what stamp do they want to put on your organization? And I would try to, if you can understand that, you'll find a way to connect and sort of latch onto what they want to try to achieve. So that would be my recommendation without knowing, sort of more context around what objectives the leader might have. But you have to give a reason for them to care about what you care about. And if you can tie it back to what goals they have, you'll naturally get some buy-in, even if it takes some time.
Yeah, it's tough.
Thank you.
Stay at it. Don't give up.
Yeah, be relentless. Yeah, no problem.
Hello, Lisa Nagy with Ulta Beauty. Another fun place to play.
Yes, a very fun, big fan.
Yeah, we're great neighbors at a lot of shopping centers.
Yes.
We are.
Could you elaborate a little more on how you introduced this initiative to the stores, whether it was more organic or whether there was a formal rollout or like a pilot with certain ambassadors? How did
Sure. So it really started at our store manager leadership conference when Lauren Hobart was on the main stage and let the store leaders know. So at the store manager leadership conference, it's all store managers, district managers, regional vice presidents. So it's really all store leadership. And she was on the main stage and said, hey, it's coming soon. We're changing our social media policy and we want you to engage with us. That's really kind of all she said. And then the next part of the rollout was the all stores call, where I got on the call and really went through the tactics of what we wanted. And we tried, Simon Sinek all the way, the why before the what. Like we tried to explain why it was important and what we were asking for them to do with it. And I think the third piece was it started with store leadership. Every time they went on a store walk, they were taking selfies, they were posting things. I've actually seen, I think, your leader of stores do some stuff on LinkedIn, or maybe tall blonde woman, or I've seen somebody at Ulta that I follow, and I'm like, oh my God, she's so amazing.
Is it Keisha? Okay.
Yeah. So basically exactly what she's doing, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we started to take that and put it on our company page, and we started to try to fan those flames. But by seeing that leader, sort of say it's okay, it told slowly the rest of the stores that it was okay. And then when we did the rollout on April 28th.
There's another tipping point moment that I think is, that just get really visibility. One of our district managers was on a call with his team, and he was really he thought he was giving out recognition, and the team had flipped the switch to him, and actually we're all recognizing him for his contributions and how much impact he had in his life. And someone was filming it, and he starts to cry as he's hearing these people tell him how much they've meant to his career and all this stuff. And he wasn't leaving; it was just a moment of him giving recognition, and it went viral. We had about 1.1 million hits on LinkedIn on that. And I think that kind of got everyone's attention that this was happening, plus all the recognition, the culture change. It just sort of all hit at the right time. So no recipe to that, but just thinking about how you can keep multiple things going and have them all kind of keep that excitement and just build on it.
Thank you.
All right, last question. Thank you guys for hanging in there. And
yeah, it's so nice to meet you.
It's exciting. So.
Hi, I'm Jessica from FedEx Ground, so pretty close to you guys.
Oh, yeah. Go Pittsburgh.
Yep. So my question is really how you got buy-in from the teammates in the stores, other than making the social media policy a little less scary. Did you incentivize them or do anything to get those frontline?
So not for the early adopters. We didn't do any kind of incentive other than them seeing their store manager do things. We have tried to get more buy-in, right, especially for those late adopters. We have done some hashtag DSG Life campaigns where the mugs that I was handing out, post, here's a theme, post, we're going to give the best 10 posts a new Yeti mug, right? We did a campaign just over the summer, show us how you live your best, #DSG Life. And we saw a lot of amazing content, and we saw it from people who weren't necessarily participating before. So we have done some of those things at a fairly low cost. But really, the most of it was seeing their leader participate, and so they decided to start participating. But once again, we tried to meet everybody where they were and realized that not everybody's gonna want to post things. So we also encouraged for people just to like and share and comment, or just follow the company page, if nothing else, right? And we had to be okay with that, and we still are. I mean,
yeah, and I think we rolled it out, and we also talked about just getting permission. Like, hey, make sure someone wants to be posted up online, and I think knowing that they're gonna take that photo and then post it, some people are like, oh, I don't want my photo on LinkedIn, okay. And I think that's more about the management style.
Totally.
But we've had no pushback, really. So.
The other thing that's, I think, important to know about our company is that we have an average age of 32 across the entire organization. So we, as a collective employment, organization, and naturally understand social media and know how to use it and kind of want to use it because it's something that we've grown up with. And so I think that does help a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you guys very much. Yeah.
Really
Find us later if you have questions or connect on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Follow #DSG Life.